Hi, my name's Brian, and I'm here to show you a quick demonstration of FlexiDeck, a new advanced automation tool. For this demo, I'm going to show you how to automate a simple set of tasks in Logic Pro X. For those not familiar with that application, note that the basic features of FlexiDeck I'm about to use can be applied to nearly any application, and the workflow for automating a different app would be similar to what I'm going to show you here. I have Logic's main window open on the left half of the screen, and FlexiDeck's macro editor open on the right half. So what I want to do in Logic is set up an audio track with 3 plugins: a compressor, a Space Designer reverberator, and an EQ. Ordinarily, you could do it like this. You can click here to add a compressor, click through here to add a Space Designer reverberator, and then EQ. That's not too bad to do once, but you have to close a window each time you add a plugin, and it could be tedious if you had to set up a lot of tracks like this. So let's use FlexiDeck to perform all of these steps automatically. And we'll start off by resetting the channel strip and beginning again. First, we'll create a macro in our macro library, and we will call it Setup Track. Now that it's selected, I can add actions to the macro in the lower half of the macro editor. The first action we'll add is click. There's a number of options for click, but pretty much the defaults will do what we want it to. All we really need to set is the UI element. When in this mode, FlexiDeck will highlight whichever UI element the mouse is currently over. When I press enter, it will select that element, so I move the mouse over to what I want to click. I press enter, and now let's see what happens when I run the action. Not much. That's because FlexiDeck was the current application, and clicking that point on the screen just switches the current application to Logic. We need to run that action while Logic is in the front. Fortunately, FlexiDeck has a system-wide hotkey that you can use to run the selected action or the selected macro, so I'll type that hotkey now while Logic is the current app. That added the compressor and opened its window. The next thing we want to do is close the window, so I'll go back into FlexiDeck and add a close window action. We want to close a specific window, and we can select that window using a similar method that we used when selecting a UI element for the click action. I'm going to type the hotkey now to run the action, and we can see the window closes. The next thing we want to do is add the Space Designer plugin. To do that, we need another click action, and we'll have it click here. That opens a menu, and we'll need FlexiDeck to drill through the menu to get the specific menu item that we want. To do that, we'll use the Pick Menu Item action. And first, we will have it select Reverb. As a little shortcut, I'm going to drag with the Option key held down to copy the Pick Menu Item action. And now I can go and select the next menu item. That's going to be Space Designer. We make one more and set it to mono to stereo. Now, when that runs, it's going to open the Space Designer window. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the plugin to open the window. I'm going to make a copy of another close window action, so I can select it and then close it, and we can move on. Finally, we want to add an EQ. We can do that in a similar way to the compressor plugin. All we need is a click and close window action. So I'll just option drag these to the bottom here. I'll change the click action to click the EQ, and I will open the EQ window so that I can select it for the close window action. With all that in place, let's reset the channel strip and see what happens when we run the macro. To do that, I'm going to use the system-wide macro hotkey. As you can see, it adds all 3 plugins, and I can select another track and run the same macro again. One of the great advantages of FlexiDeck is that when you have it click UI elements, it actually finds them on screen rather than recording the specific point on screen that you want clicked. That means that I can resize the Logic window and move it around on screen and run the macro again, and it still works just as before. That concludes this demo. Next time we'll look at how to make a macro that can perform keystrokes and execute other macros, both of which provide very powerful ways to automate tasks.